Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, all you good fellow fly guys? You know who it is, the cat in the cap. Well, I got a beret on today. It's nice. You know who it is, the cat in your hat, the resident fly guy, your chief architect, Michelangelo of StyleArchitects.com. Here to help you redesign your frame of mind when it comes to this styling thing. Yo, and it's What to Wear Wednesday. Yo, first and foremost, thank you so much for checking out my lives, right? I'm going to start doing these lives every day because it just allows me for me to interact with you on a very real, personable type of space. I know that in my productions, you don't always get to see my personality, but here I'm going to be definitely a lot more sillier, and I want to get as much training as I can in front of the camera so I become more comfortable. And in these live spaces, I realized how much more fun I can have with you guys. So definitely appreciate you for checking out these live conversations. If you find the information beneficial, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It still will help the channel to grow. And if you find the information beneficial, check out some of the rest of my YouTube videos by subscribing. Like, yo, it'll help my channel to grow, get the name out there. And lastly, if you find the information beneficial, please do share this with a friend. Yo, so today is What to Wear Wednesday. On What to Wear Wednesday, we're going to be having conversations about what to wear, right? Today I wanted to talk to you about what to wear when it is brisk outside, when it's brick outside, and then when it's mother effing cold outside. Excuse me. Sorry. So when it is brisk outside, well, first and foremost, I want to talk about cold. When I lived in New York, what happened was I would step out into the environment, and I started quickly learning what it meant when somebody would be like, yo, it's cold outside. It's a little brisk outside. How's the weather? It's a little brisk out there. You may step out and it'd be 30 to 40 degrees and no heavy wind, but it was cold. You could feel the cold. Then I would ask somebody, how's the weather outside? Bruh, yo, son, it's brick out there. Like, it's brick. Step outside, it's 20 to 30 degrees. Wind chill factor is starting to come through. Wind chill may be 15 degrees. You're like, yeah, whew, it's brick out here. You start doing stuff like this, right? And then you you may ask somebody, yo, how's the weather out there? And they give you that look like, son, it's mother effing cold outside. Like when that face scrunched up, like, yo. That was when you would walk outside and one or two things would happen. You walk outside and it would, like, who just hit? And you realized it was the wind, and it literally felt like a slap to the face. Or you walked outside and it was like, shit, right? And you wanted to walk back inside and you realized you had to go to work. So these are the three different types of weather conditions that you're probably going to deal with. Now, if you lived up north, Boston, New Hampshire, Maine, New York, Pennsylvania, any one of those spaces, or you've lived in the Midwest, Chicago, or Illinois, Michigan, Indiana, any one of those different types of spaces where the Great Lakes are, you know what I'm talking about. You know about this cold weather, right? So we're going to talk briefly about what you should wear in each one of these spaces. Now, before we get started, just realize what's going to happen generally is that you're going to have to level up. You're going to have to add insulators in these different types of spaces. So when it's brisk outside, the thing that you're thinking, a lot of guys are thinking is, man, I got to bundle up because it's brisk. But pay attention to this. When it's brisk outside, you don't need a whole lot of insulation because generally speaking, when it's brisk outside, there's not a whole lot of wind that's going you're going to be encountering. These are the days when it's really is beautiful outside. It's 30 to 40 degrees and you're cold for the first 2 to 3 minutes. So especially if you have to run to your car, you're good. But if you have to actually walk around in it, what happens is you like, oh man, cold. But then you get 30 to 40 steps in, 50 steps in, 100 steps in, and you start getting hot. And it's because you've insulated yourself way too much because there's no wind that you're battling against. So in those spaces, generally speaking, you just want to have a great undershirt on, so a great base level shirt. It can be a short sleeve shirt, it can be a crew neck, it could be a V-neck, that's fine. Then you want to add 1 to 2 layers of clothing. If you're gonna have a heavy shirt on, for you guys who like flannels, if you want to throw on a flannel shirt, then you're probably going to be pretty good. And then adding a sweater. If you're gonna have a standard dress shirt on, then you may want to add another layer. So you may want to have a dress shirt and then maybe a V-neck and then maybe one more layer of clothing if you tend to get cold very easily. So you also want to pay attention to your body in that space. And then you just want a jacket. Now, I'm going to be showing you some of those different types of pieces. So you may want a nice little vest. I like to wear this vest when it's brisk outside. And then I may pair that with this suede jacket. Now, this is not a top coat. It's relatively short, right? So you can wear these two things together and you're going to be more than warm, right? And even if I have these on, I may have a dress shirt on and I don't have anything else on under that. You can then pair that with some great trousers. They don't have to be heavy because most people's legs don't get that heavy or don't get that cold, I'm sorry. So you're usually pretty good there. When it comes to your shoes, these are spaces where you can wear some suede. You can still wear some light leather shoes. You can still wear your sneakers because, again, it's not going to be super heavy and you're not dealing with any elements, so you're usually okay. In those spaces, you still may want to double up on your socks. If you're not a guy who goes and buys wool socks, and if you're not, like, you should do that. It's definitely a great investment, but that'll be beneficial to you. So when it moves from being brisk to brick is getting cold and that wind is you're starting to battle against that wind. So in those spaces, really all you have to do is switch out two things and then protect two things. The first thing that you need to switch out is that bottom layer. So if you have on just a standard dress shirt, you may want to switch that out for something a little bit heavier. With a broadcloth, something that's going to have a little bit more weight to it, or you can switch up and have on like a turtleneck. Then you can still add on another layer, whether it's a V-neck or a cardigan or anything like that, that will actually act as another insulator. And then you want to switch out that jacket for a coat. And this doesn't have to be a heavy coat. It could just be a nice top coat, something that will add extra insulation for more of your body. The reason being is once that wind starts to pick up, then you're going to feel that. And so as you're moving, that wind will be offset by the clothing, by the insulation that you're creating there. The next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure you protect two things. That's your head, that's your neck. These are the two vulnerable spaces in those places. And even though the wind may not be heavy, you still want to make sure that you have a scarf on. If you don't have a roll neck or a turtleneck on, you want to make sure that you have some sort of head covering, whether that's a scully, whether that is a fedora, whether that is a 8-panel hat. I know some guys who still wear baseball caps. I really wouldn't recommend that because you have the back of your head that's still exposed, but you can do that as well. And then you also want to make sure that your shoes are protected. Now, in these different types of spaces, I always like to recommend wearing a heavier leather shoe. Now, this is because that heavier leather is going to not be as penetrable as the softer leathers would. And so it'll keep your foot warm. And in those spaces, just a little trick of the trade, get a half size up for those types of shoes. And that will be because you'll want to double your socks up. That will be another way to insulate your foot. Or you can have something that has a natural insulator like some winter boots, although I wouldn't really recommend doing those at that time just because it may not be that cold or as cold as you think. And you can usually just offset that with doubling up your socks anyway. The last space that you are going to want to pay attention to is when it is mother effing cold. Two things usually happens. J3, I'm actually going to talk about LL Bean in 2 seconds. Actually, when it comes to it being mother effing cold, right? So when you step out and it's mother effing cold, two things have happened to me. I've walked outside and you'll be walking or you'll be getting to the door. You'll be like, yo, all right, what's the weather like? And they're like, yo, son, it's mother effing cold outside. You be like, all right, cool. You walk outside and you're like, oh, who hit me? And you realize it was the wind. And you like, yo, that's some old BS, right? Or you step outside and you're like, shit. Like when you start cussing, you're like, fuck. Like, right? All those different types of things. It's mother effing cold outside. It is mother effing cold outside, right? And so in those spaces, when it's mother effing cold, you have to just do the best that you can to fight the elements because you're going to lose. It's a losing battle. So don't even think, I'm going to be out. You're going to lose. First thing that you need to have there is you need to have an insulator. A lot of guys now are starting to use things like Under Armour to insulate their bodies, because they like that better than thermals, and they actually are more comfortable in your movements than like a standard long john would be. When I was in New York, I was still wearing long johns, and I'm not gonna lie, they were kind of uncomfortable because at a certain point they get itchy. They don't move well. Sorry about that, guys. They don't really move well in those spaces. So I wouldn't really recommend that. If you can get some Under Armour or Nike, whatever your sports apparel is, and you can put that on as a base layer, that's usually, you're gonna be good. Then after that, you can then layer like it was brick. And you may want to add a extra layer. And in that space, you're going to still kind of stay in the same vein. But the thing that you're going to switch up is you're going to usually switch up your headgear, because you're going to want something that's going to cover your ears. So if you have that Scully on, that Scully needs to come over here, because you ain't going to be worried about being stylish at that point. You are just trying to make it. You're just trying to stay warm. And so in those spaces, you're going to make sure that your ears are covered. Or if you do wear fedoras, in those different types of spaces, just be prepared for that to be burning right here. This will burn, right? So you'll also still protect your neck. Now, the main thing that you're generally going to add is one more layer of insulation. So you may have on another heavier piece. So this is when I've had guys who may still have their suit on. They still may have an overcoat on, but in between their suit and like a sweater or a shirt, they have a beautiful, still dope, still stylish puffer vest on. And Uniqlo sells some great ones. They're not endorsing me, but Uniqlo has a great one that you can add. It's smaller and it's more fitted to the body, that will keep you insulated, and you'll be able to move in those different types of spaces. And you can easily remove that once you get to the office. They also will have a top coat on. Now, generally speaking, what I like to recommend when it's like effing cold outside is to have some sort of insulated coat or military coat. I have two coats. I have a shearling coat that I wear, and then I have a military double-breasted coat with a really big collar that I put up. The reason being is because if you have a shearling coat and it's long, then it'll keep you extremely insulated. That's one of the warmest coats that I have. I've had about 10 guys ask me if I want to sell it, and I just can't get rid of it because I love it so much. Like, and it's just such a great wear. And then my military coat, if I need to do something that's a little bit more sophisticated or formal, that's beneficial too. But functionality-wise, throwing that collar up, man, keeps you dumb warm. And if you have a scarf, you're keeping your the back of your neck and the front of your neck warm, and so it's necessary there. When it comes to your shoes that J3 was asking about, I generally do recommend getting snow boots or something like LL Beans. Now, LL Beans, I think they do have some insulated shoes, if I'm not mistaken. They do have some shoes with like some shearling or some lining in them. I would generally recommend those if you're staying up north. If you're not, you can still get those LL Beans, and they are insulated because they do have extra material that they're using in those different types of spaces. So those can be extremely beneficial for you as well. Exactly. That the Gore-Tex and Thinsulate. Thank you, J3. And so in that space, it's going to be more beneficial for you because the insulation will keep your feet warm. And when it's mother effing cold, I even recommend doubling up your socks in that space, because you can always take one pair of socks off. But usually, people don't realize when your feet get cold, I don't care, like, if all of this is completely warm, if your feet get cold, it throws off everything, because you can't really move the same. Your feet are not going to have movement, and it's only going to create discomfort and will create pain. That happened to me actually like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I got caught off guard and my feet got cold and I had to walk. Oh my God, I thought I was gonna die. So just bear that in mind when you're wearing those. Lastly, now when it comes to snow, you're gonna be in two categories. You're either going to be in it being brisk, or usually being brick. It's usually not going to get mother effing cold because snow is actually an insulator for the earth. So when it snows, if you've ever lived in a space where it's a heavy snow space, a lot of people actually look for snow once they clear out the roads and everything is moving, because once the snow is built up, it actually creates a little bit of warmth because that snow is is holding the Earth's energy, and if it's sunny outside, it's kind of holding both of those energetic forces, and it actually adds a little bit of warmth to your movements. And a lot of people don't really realize that, but I've gone outside and I'll be like, yo, it feels warmer out here after the snow. So because of that, if you're making those moves in that space, you can usually either, depending on the weather and depending on the wind, you can stay on the brick side or the brisk side. Just add those different types of elements to keep yourself warm. And the only thing that you're really going to, you can wear the I can never say the Urshanka, the Russian hat. You can wear that. That's definitely, or even an Astrakhan hat. You can wear those things. It is definitely for your own style notions. The Russian flap hats are statement pieces. The Astrakhan hat, statement pieces. But I mean, at that point, when it's mother effing cold or it's brick outside, your main concern is staying warm. Like, I'm not gonna front. The average guy is probably too cold to be like, man, that's a nice hat. It's too cold. You just want to get to where you're going. But you know, yeah, you can definitely do that, and it's a great way for you to stay warm. I don't have any Russian viewers as of yet. If I do, hit me up. Let me know that you're a Russian viewer so that I can show you some love and talk to you about what you wear when it's cold. But yeah, so the other thing that you're going to want to switch up and wear is snow boots. Now, snow boots are something I never invested in New York. Don't really regret it, but definitely had to deal with those days. Like, any person who's lived in any one of those places where it snows, well, again, if you're suited and booted, usually Jen ain't have someplace to go. I always recommend catching an Uber instead of catching the subway or catching public transit, catching a cab, something like that, so that you don't have to worry about you being in the cold. Find yourself in that space. Keep as much of this warm as possible. Get a coat that has a nice collar, and that way it'll cover this, and your ears will be protected. That's just a thought. If you can find that at a vintage store or something. So if you're in the snow, this happened to like 3 of my friends. We'd be walking, right? We had leather shoes on, leather dress shoes, and we catch a hill. I stayed on 141st and 8th. Now, if 145th and 8th. So if you ever lived or been up to Harlem, then you know St. Nick and Frederick Douglass are right with each other. And there's this very steep hill. And we were coming from a close friend of ours' house, me and my friend. He had on some leather shoes, and I think I had on, I don't remember what I had on, some boots or something. We both got there and was like, oh. And I can't tell you how many times I busted my ass because I didn't have leather shoes. I mean, snow boots. Now, what happens with snow boots is they have 2 things. They have insulation and they have grip. So, generally speaking, you can do that pop down. And a lot of you guys know, if you ever lived up north, you have to do the pop down, where you do that lightly stepping to make sure that you don't slip. And then on the other side, what would happen is you would step out onto the curb and think that you were closer to the ground than you were, and you step into a puddle. Oh my God, that's the worst. That's the worst. You would step into the puddle and be like, I still got to go to work. And then it would take the whole day for you to dry off, only to step back out and then step back into another puddle. I hope that didn't happen to anybody else. That happened to me. I didn't step back into a puddle, but I almost stepped into a puddle and stepped into some deep snow instead. It wasn't water-based, but it was still snow. It was worse. So the snow boots are beneficial in that they are cut higher. You can wrap them around your suit pants, even if you're wearing, and I've seen many of guys who are businessmen wearing snow boots or wearing commando boots in a heavy, thick leather, that wear their snow boots when they are doing that. Now, if you're a live man and you can afford this, what I usually recommend doing is having 1 pair of pants. You get the same suit, or have a suit, 2 pairs of the same pants, and you cut your pant leg on one of them wider so that they can accommodate a snow boot. Especially if you're in the MTM space and you've gotten your base wardrobe together and you just need one winter look, do that. And that way you can put that over your pant. But if you can't, it's still beneficial because you can wrap it around you can put your pant leg into the boot and keep your pants protected. And it'll keep your foot warm. And if you step into a puddle, you'll usually be okay. So with that being said, I want you to try that on, see how it fits you. Leave me some comments in the comment box about how you dress when it's brisk, when it's brick, and when it's mother effing cold outside. And hopefully share it with some of the other guys so that if they're cold, they know how to deal with it. Also, please make sure that you check us out tonight at 6:30 p.m. We're going to be talking about how to date in 2018. And since it's cold, I might hop on a little bit later and talk about some things that you can do when it's cold and you're not just thinking about Netflix and chilling, because after a little while, like, you got to find something else to do. So let's give you some three tips there. If you're interested in that, please, by all means, leave me a comment and let me know that you want to hear about it. Otherwise, I'll just skip it. And you can catch the episode tonight at 6:30 p.m. Again, talking about how to date in 2018. Outside of that, if you have any questions, you know that I'm here to always answer questions for you. More than happy to help you. Please make sure that you, again, subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. It'll help the channel to grow. And don't forget that for this month only, if you are looking to develop your style in the new year, you know that I'm here for you, and I will be providing 10 guys here on YouTube with free consultation advice for 30 minutes. And you see I like to talk a lot, so it'll probably be longer than that, where I am going to help you set the framework for your character, help you get the foundation for the construction of your wardrobe, and talk to you about how you can effectively communicate yourself in social, professional, and intimate spaces. And if you have any other questions just in general, you know that I'm more than happy to answer them. There's no stupid questions or bad questions when you're dealing with me. I just want to help you grow and help you develop. So outside of that, be great. Then again, you know you already are, right? You knew that. So now all you have to do is show up and express yourself, show up in style. And don't ever forget that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So you, yes, you, should always dress to express. See you next time. Peace.